Yeah, so from here onwards, we'll be talking about factorization theory. And the first thing under factorization theory will be about domains. Of course, you're going to find out what factorization theory is all about, as we see other things related to that subsequently. So domains in factorization theory is the focus here. And factorization theory, first of all, studies when and how elements of an integral domain. We already know an integral domain does not have zero divisors. So an integral domain is a special ring that does not have zero divisors. So that's the foundation. We saw that in the previous video. So factorization theory studies when and how elements of an integral domain can be written as products of simpler terms, simpler elements. That's what factorization theory studies. So three fundamental classes of domains control factorization behavior. We can have Euclidean domains, principal ideal domains. We saw this under ideals. I think we had a video on ideals and quotient rings, right? So principal ideal domains, and then unique factorization domains, UFDs. Principal ideal domains are PIDs. So they satisfy the implication chain that Euclidean do if it's something is an Euclidean domain, it's automatically a principal ideal domain. If something is a principal ideal domain, then it is also a unique factorization domain, right? So the reverse implication does not hold in general. So a UFD may not be a PID, and a PID may not be an Euclidean domain. But if it is an Euclidean domain, it's automatically a principal ideal domain, and if it is a principal ideal domain, it's automatically a unique factorization domain. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about integral domains. Just for reminder, which I think I already did just now. For instance, an integral domain is a commutative ring. It is commutative with identity 1, not 0, such that AB equals 0 implies that A is equal to 0 and B is not equal to B is equal to 0. On the other hand, for zero divisors, right, AB is equal to 0, whereas A and B are non-zero. Okay, so when A and B are non-zero, and then their product gives 0, then A and B are said to be zero divisors. So for integral domain, there are no zero divisors. So when two numbers multiply to give 0, it means that either of the two numbers or both of them are 0. So this property rules out zero divisors and allows cancellation and meaningful factorization. So examples of integral domains include, of course, the set of integers is an integral domain. The set of rational numbers is an integral domain. Then the set of polynomial ring f of x, where f is a field, is is an integral domain, and zx is an integral domain. That's the polynomial ring zx, where z is a set of integers, is also an integral domain, not having zero divisors or zero divisors. Okay, Euclidean domains now. So talking about Euclidean domains, an integral domain R is called a Euclidean domain if there exists a function delta such that R take away 0 results to natural numbers. That's Euclidean domain, right? Natural numbers are normal counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on and so forth. So if the ring take away 0 gives natural numbers, then such that for all A and B belonging to R with B not equal to 0, there exists QR belonging to big R, satisfying that A is equal to BQ plus R, where either R is 0 or delta R less than delta B, like that. So this is simply this ties up with the whole idea of remainder theory, having remainders, right? For polynomials or whatever instance you may be looking at, or it also has implications on greatest common divisors. I think we saw that when I talked about how Euclidean algorithm applies to polynomial equations. So the function delta then is called a Euclidean function. So this A equals BQ plus R is really important. I think we're going to see something in that line as we go on. So the consequences of being Euclidean. So what does it mean if a ring is Euclidean, is a Euclidean domain? So if R is a Euclidean domain, then a division algorithm exists. That is what has been summed up here, right? A equals BQ plus R, and R is 0, or the degree of R is less than the degree of B, something like that. So, and that has something to do with remainder theorem too. So a division algorithm exists. The Euclidean algorithm computes greatest common divisors, and every ideal of R is generated by a single element. Then factorization behaves well. Therefore, every Euclidean domain is a principal ideal domain. So we can already see that the consequence of a an integral domain being an Euclidean domain. So let's look at examples right here. So examples of Euclidean domains. The integers, the set of integers z with Euclidean function delta n equals absolute value of n. Is this? I'm not sure if this is absolute value of or order. I believe it should be order, right? Maybe order. So then two polynomial rings over a field f of x with the d of f equals delta of f equals degree of f. So I think this should be order of n. Yeah, the degree of delta of n is degree of n. Then we also have Gaussian integers for zi with delta a plus bi being equal to a squared plus b squared. So this is, I mean, this whole thing is just talking about magnitude and everything. So this should be order of n. This is the degree of f for a polynomial field, like we have here, polynomial ring over a field, and then we have Gaussian integers z of I with this, such that this is more like the modulus, right? A squared plus b squared. Then, for example, yeah, this is a typical example of the Euclidean algorithm for integers. So imagine you want to compute the greatest common divisor of 252 and 198. So there's this step-by-step way of going about it. You follow the Euclidean algorithm. First of all, you can break down 252 to be 198. How many 198 can you find in 252? That's one. And do you have left? 54. And then you can now break down 198 in terms of 54. So 198, how many 54s do you find in 198? Three of them. And then you have one that, because that is going to be 162, right? And then you have 36 left over. So you have 54 times 3 plus 36. Then you can now relate 54 and 36. 54 is equal to 36 in one place plus 18. Then afterwards, you can then see that 36 is equal to 18 times 2. No remainder now. And once that happens, it means that the greatest common divisor of 252 and 198 is 18. So the last non-zero remainder is 18. So so the last non-zero remainder here is 18. So once you have a zero remainder, you go back to the last non-zero remainder, which is 18. So the greatest common divisor of 252 and 198 is simply 18, right? So that's the Euclidean algorithm. So I mean, things are more straightforward here because you can see the numbers. But when you can't see the numbers, things become trickier because there's also a way of substituting backwards until we get this a plus a equals bq plus r that we have here. So it was more tedious when I did it under polynomial equations. So let's go ahead and talk about principal domains, principal ideal domains, PIDs. So first of all, okay, yeah, an integral domain R is called a principal ideal domain if every ideal of R is if every ideal of R is generated by a single element. That is, for every ideal I belonging, which is a subset of R, there exists an element A in R such that I is generated totally by A. All right. So, like I said, ideal in rings corresponds with cyclic groups under group theory, right? So imagine this example. Examples and non-examples of PIDs. So for examples now, you have examples like a set of integers. You have the polynomial rings over fields, over a field, right? And you have Zi. This is the Gaussian thing we saw just not quite long. That's the Gaussian integers, Z of I. And then another example will be the polynomial rings on the set of integers. So the ideal generated by 2 by x in z of x cannot be generated by a single element. So z of x is not a PID. So here now, normally for two ideas like this, you want to find a GCD. So whatever the GCD has to be, that may not be it may be difficult to find that. That's why z of x is a non-example of a principal ideal domain. Then let's talk about the fact that Euclidean domains are PIDs. Okay, I think we already saw this. We saw a hint of this already. That Euclidean domains uh, are PIDs and PIDs are UFDs, as we're going to see. So the theorem is that every Euclidean domain is a principal ideal domain. Why? The idea of the proof is that if I is a non-zero ideal, then we can choose an element A belonging to I with minimal Euclidean value, and then we show every element of I is a multiple of A, and we then conclude that I is an ideal, generated totally by A, just like a cyclic group is generated by a single element, either by the multiple of that element or powers of the element. So then we have ideals in Z in the group of integers now. So consider the ideal generated by 12, 8 in the group of integers. So first of all, you want to compute the greatest common divisor, which is 6, right? Therefore, uh, so the ideal generated by 12 and 8 can also be generated by 6. So it means that this would just be like 6z, right? 6z, and that will be the ideal. So this shows explicitly how ideals are principal, like that. So this is a principal ideal, as you can see. Um, that goes. So at the end of the day, so it becomes like an ideal which is generated by only a single element, and that puts paid to the fact that every Euclidean domain is a principal ideal domain. So we go on to talk about unique factorization domains. So don't forget, we're talking about domains in factorization theory, and it is a way of the way of writing integral domains in the simplest forms possible. So an integral domain R is a unique factorization domain, right? If every non-zero, non-unit element, so you remember units of a ring, right? So every non-zero, non-unit element can be written as a product of irreducible elements. This factorization is unique up to ordering and multiplication by units. So remember, units, yeah, we talked about units previously. Um, uh, so you want to check like maybe 2 videos before this. Irreducible and prime elements now, based on what we have said about unique factorization domains. So an element P belonging to R is irreducible if P is not equal to 0. Okay? It is irreducible if P is not equal to 0. Then P is not a unit. Then if P is equal to AB, then A or B will have to be a unit. So in essence, we say that an element P is prime, of course, as we know, an element P is prime if P divides AB, implies that P divides A or P divides B. So in a UFD, that's in a unique factorization domain, irreducible elements and prime elements actually coincide. So let's see practical examples of UFDs. So examples of unique factorization domains include the set of integers, which is almost always everywhere, and then you have the polynomial rings over a field F. Then you have the polynomial ring over the set of integers, and then you have polynomial ring in pseudo multivariable polynomial ring over the field F. So we have to know that a UFD need not be a PID, but a PID will have to be a UFD. So let's see this now. A domain that is not a unique factorization uh, domain. So a domain that is not a unique factorization domain, let's quickly see that. So consider the ring. So consider the ring Z of square root of minus 5. So the element 6 admits two distinct factorizations. So we have 6, which is 2 times 3. So and when we have 2 times 3, so we have 6 now is equal to 1 plus root minus 5, right? And then this is 1 minus root minus 5. So these factorizations are not related by units or reordering. So uniqueness fails. So since we can express 6 to be 2 times 3, and in the same way too, 6 can also be expressed as 1 plus root minus 5 into 1 minus root minus 5. So if you multiply this, you still get the same 6. So we see that these factorizations are not related by units or reordering. So uniqueness fails because we are talking about unique factorization domains. So uniqueness fails here. So hence we say Z of square root of minus 5 is not a field. It's not a UFD, a unique factorization domain. So now here we want to show that principal ideal domains are actually unique factorization domains. So the theorem says every principal ideal domain is a unique factorization domain. So the reason is that in the principal integral domain, all right. Every irreducible, in a principal ideal domain, rather, every irreducible element generates a maximal ideal. This implies irreducible satisfy the prime property. Then existence and uniqueness of factorization would follow in that case. And we have a very good example to buttress that idea. So, factorization in ZX. So factor the polynomial f of x equals x squared minus 4. So we obtain x squared minus 4, which is x minus 2 into x plus 2. So up to multiplication by units, this factorization is unique in Z of X. So there's hardly another way in which you can express this. So up to multiplication by units, by the way. So this factorization is unique in ZX. So we have that. So in summary, we see that um, if we talk about division algorithm, Euclidean domain has it, PID and UFD do not have it. Then for every ideal principal, Euclidean domain has it, PID has it, UFD doesn't have it. But for unique factorization, Euclidean domain has it, PID has it, and UFD also has it. So the implication is that Euclidean domain implies principal ideal domain, and principal ideal domain implies unique factorization domain, like that. So the conceptual big picture in all of these things, when we talk about domains and factorization, is that Euclidean domains provide algorithms for division and greatest common divisors. Then principal ideal domain provides full control over ideals. And then unique factorization domains guarantee uniqueness of factorization. So these structures measure how much algebraic control a domain provides. So yeah, so now we have some 10 practice problems as we usually would do. So you want to try your hands on this to be sure you really get the gist. Show that f of x is a Euclidean domain for any field f. All right. Prove that every Euclidean domain is a principal ideal domain. Show that xy is not principal in f of x, comma y. Factor x cubed minus 2 in q of x and z of x. So, I mean, this is just basically to show that there's no uniqueness about this. Then decide whether z of root 2 is a UFD. Compute, uh, you know, but should I say this is ideal 30, 45. All you just need to do is find the greatest common divisor of 30 and 45, which is 15. So at the end of the day, compute 30, 45 as an ideal of z. So that's the ideal is going to end up being the ideal of just 15. So you are going to have multiples of 15. 15 is going to be the generator of that ideal, in the ring. So give an example of a UFD that is on a PID. Prove that irreducibles are prime in a PID. Determine whether Z2I is Euclidean. Explain why Z of X is not a PID. So you want to try your hands on all of these things and see how well that goes. Let me know how helpful this is for you. And if there's something else you'd like me to try out, feel very free to let me know. If you have subscribed already, I thank you very much for doing that. If you haven't subscribed, you want to do that right away because you don't want to miss all the great content I have going on here. I have tons of videos for you on different topics in mathematics, in data analysis, in data science, Python programming, scholarships, everything. It's a one-stop shop for everything you need to learn to get ahead. So feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can always get alerted each time a new video is released. Then, having done that, you can actually become a member of this channel by clicking on join. So join helps you to get some special perks. As you can see there, you can get PDF copies of some of those notes that I use for these things, and then you can. So at the highest level, you can actually hang out with me, online or face to face if you're in the same geographical zone at any point, and we can discuss anything that interests you on my channel, be it mathematics, data analysis, data science, Python programming, um how to find scholarships, how to write books, whatever you're interested in. We can always talk about that. Ultimately, don't forget to comment, like, and share so that more people can have access to the great content I have going on here. Till I come your way again, keep doing math right. Bye.